What's happening, everybody?
I like to think anybody can grow. It really isn't that hard at all.
In-Tents
All the
Genetix.
followers on Facebook, everybody who's been participating in the giveaways, it really does mean the world to me.
We're here with the one and only In-Tents Genetix, and this is our first episode doing this show, so we wanted to kind of start it off with some personal experience, so you guys can get to know In-Tents himself a little bit. So I just wanted to kick it off by asking you just a simple question: your first grow. Since it's the first episode, let's talk about the first grow, or at least the first couple grows leading up to the first successful grow, and what your experience was like with that.
Yeah, absolutely. What's happening, everybody? Good to be here. Good to be doing this. Excited about it. First grow. Oh man. Yeah, there was a lot to go on with that. So, just like most people, you start off pretty young. I think I started popping seeds when I was, man, had to be freshman year of high school. So I don't know, where does that place me? Um, Man,
Early, probably
I don't know,
14,
15,
15.
14,
Yeah.
15, something like that. Early on, it was all about, being broke and trying to find a way to supplement my habit without having to pay for it. And growing medical plants was a great option. So I took a bucket, filled it with some soil from my grandma's garden, threw it in the corner of the garage we would hang out in, and I threw just like a basic shop light over it. And I didn't do anything. I just threw some seeds in the bucket, and that was my first ever attempt at growing. And the plants sprouted. They actually sprouted, but then they died immediately because there was no airflow. It was just a million degrees because the light was just like sitting above the bucket. So it fried them. So I didn't quite get to a harvest my first go round.
Lucky you didn't
My
set that
second
garage on fire.
I'm very lucky I didn't burn the whole thing down. That is for sure. Uh, I think my dad found it, and he said exactly the same thing. So, yeah, did not end up growing in the garage the first go around. The second go around wasn't even my own doing. Somebody that was just hanging out at the garage threw some seeds in one of my grandma's gardening pots, and some some plants came up, and they were crushing it. And at the time it wasn't okay, so we were all nervous about it. So my sister ended up getting rid of them at the time, and we moved on from there. But the infatuation definitely started, and I was ready to grow. So later on down the road, not much longer after that, you got a hold of me and you said that you had a buddy at school who was able to uh, provide us with a plant to attempt. So something about his house was starting to smell too much, and his mom was worried about it, and he gave us the two smaller plants, and he kept one of the larger ones that ended up being male. But we ended up getting two of his females actually, and my mom went and helped me pick them up and bring them home, and we set them up in the window and put a fish tank light over them. And I literally would unplug it to keep the time going. Like, that's how broke we were. We couldn't go get
Yeah,
a freaking mechanical timer, you
yeah.
know.
The best was it
But
was in the window in your brother's room, so you didn't have to deal with
oh yeah,
it. He did.
didn't have to deal with it at all. Yeah, and he had to deal with me more like it because I was just all about it. I was all about it from the jump. Like, I couldn't get enough of them. I would call my mom and tell her unplug the lights when I was out and I wasn't home
To,
yet. I'm like,
yeah,
it's gonna mess them up.
describe
Um,
that setup a
and
little
and
bit more. Didn't we? Didn't you like use aluminum foil or?
Oh, okay. So the original setup was literally the pots the kid gave us them in. We didn't transplant them or anything. And then they were sitting on a desk in the window with tomato cages. And we like wrapped tin foil all around the tomato cages to try to reflect some of the sunlight. And then we just put an aquarium tank light that we found. It wasn't even like a real fluorescent light. It's like for an aquarium. And we threw that above it for whatever reason to help keep the light cycle. And
At that time, the only knowledge that was really available was on the forums. Like we would check out overgrow.com, and that's where I really started to learn about the plant from other people's experiences. And a lot of stuff was from the Netherlands and that kind of thing. And I was able to kind of learn a little bit from them. And it was mostly just that. It was really just overgrow for the forums. And that's how I learned about the light cycle and that kind of thing early on. Even then, with the first grow, I was already that into it where I was like ready to look up every little thing about it, because you know consuming isn't exactly addictive, but growing the medical plants is definitely addictive. So, yeah, at least it was for me, and still is. Still is. And then we got to the end of a harvest with that. We actually did end up harvesting that time. And then as kids who are broke and wanting to, you know, get where we needed to go, we cut them down immediately, tossed them in a brown paper bag, hit them with a blow dryer to dry them out the same day, you know, and and yeah, we then consumed it, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that's how easy it was. And then from there, things definitely changed. We all started getting into it. Yourself, myself, a few other buddies of ours, and then we started getting serious and ordering seeds from Amsterdam and stuff. So yeah, it got a
Yeah,
lot of fun.
I
It
think
started becoming a lot of fun.
I think we very quickly learned our biggest obstacle in this whole thing was just going to be ourselves, patience.
Absolutely, absolutely. Time put in, and when the jars are empty, it's a little different than when the jars are full, and back then the jars were always empty. So what's happening, everybody? I like to think anybody can grow. It really isn't that hard at all.
In-Tents
All the
Genetix.
followers on Facebook, everybody who's been participating in the giveaways, it really does mean the world to me.